Let's take a look at some improvements to the user interface inside SOLIDWORKS 2017. We'll switch to SOLIDWORKS, and the first improvement we'll look at is improvements to breadcrumbs. Breadcrumbs were introduced in SOLIDWORKS 2016, and they were a good way of accessing information about your model next to your cursor. There are now more things that you can access from this menu. So for example, we can now access the reference planes of a part or sub-assembly. We can also view the mates, see the suppression state of the mates, and if there is a mate that is showing an error, for example, we can click on that mate. Rather than having to go to the left hand side to see what's wrong with it, we now get this handy little box that displays exactly what the problem is. We can also edit the mate directly from this dialog box as well. So all I'm going to do here is edit the mate and reattach the face that was missing. The next improvement we'll see is to the view menu inside SOLIDWORKS. So within the heads up view toolbar here, we have the ability to toggle off the visibility of planes, axes, sketches, dimensions, and so on. There is an option to hide all of these items within one click, and historically that was only available from the view menu, hide show, and then hide all types. We can now actually toggle hide all types on and off directly from the graphics area here, just by clicking on the eye symbol like so. If we go over to the tree on the left hand side, we now see some improvements to dynamic reference visualization. The interface for this has been cleaned up, the arrows look much better, much cleaner, and I think it's much easier to see what's going on. If we click on a feature with an error, so for example this fillet, we now get the what's wrong warning displayed directly next to our feature, which for new users I think is going to be really handy. We also have the ability to edit the feature directly from the warning dialog box as well. Another improvement we see is to the selection toolbar. So as we click an edge, this toolbar here pops up, allowing us to select multiple edges very quickly. You can now toggle this on and off directly from this menu, or alternatively you can go over to the tree and toggle it off from there. If we go down to our circular pattern, again we get the warning message when we click on the feature as to what's wrong with it. I'm just going to go in here and just re-establish the missing axis for the whole pattern, like so, and that's now the part finished. We'll switch back to the main assembly, and the next improvement we see is to configurations. So here we have a screw. Let's go ahead and open it, and if we go to the configuration manager, you can see that we have lots of configurations of this screw. Now in terms of the way these configurations are ordered, basically before it was alphanumeric, which was useful but sometimes a little bit confusing. You now have the option to order the configurations either numerically, literally, manually, or history based. I'm going to leave mine as manual, and a use for doing this is to take a configuration and just reorder it. And one of the reasons that you might choose to reorder it is because when we switch back to the assembly, we can select our component, we can access the configuration drop down from here, and we can place all the commonly used configurations at the top of the list, which means that you don't have to go searching for them if you have lots and lots and lots of different configurations. Another improvement we see is to comments. Comments have been inside SOLIDWORKS for a little while, and they just allow you to add a comment next to a feature or a component. So if you're working in a multi-user environment, for example, you can leave comments next to these items to better communicate why you've done something. We can now right click and we can go to tree display, and we have the option to show a comment indicator. So if anything has a comment next to it, you can see it shows with the comment symbol next to whatever it is, and if you hover over that comment, it'll actually pop the comment up next to your toolbar. We also have the comments folder here, and if I expand that out, we can actually attach comments to more things now. So for example, we can attach a comment to a mate, which we couldn't before. We can also attach a comment to a folder. To add a comment, we can right click and we can select add comment from here. Now, when we're adding a comment, in previous releases, we could type in our comment and date and timestamp it with your initials. So I'll just add a comment in here and we'll just type in color options. Now, we have 3 new buttons within this dialog box. We can add the timestamp as before, we can insert an image, or we can take a screenshot. So really useful things that we can add with our comments. In this instance, I'm going to insert an image. We can then just browse to the relevant folder and select from standard image file types the image that we want to apply. That comment's now been added, and if we want to, we can display all comments on the screen in one handy to see interface. Now the last comment that I added was regarding the colors that are available for this. So if we look at the actual battery case assembly here, it's currently green. These are decals that have been attached to the faces of the model. So the decals for this battery pack will be available in 3 different colors: green, yellow and blue. And because of this, we've created 3 different images representing the 3 different colors. Now, in previous releases, we'd have had to create 3 separate configurations, toggling on and off the decals between the configurations. We can now control whether a decal is active within display states. So for example here, if I right click, I can select through my different display states. If I go to blue logo, what's happening is it's turning off the green and the yellow decal within that display state and just displaying the blue one. If I go to the yellow logo, it's toggling off the blue and the green decal within this display state and just displaying the yellow one. Okay, so if we switch back to the PowerPoint, we'll just summarize what we've seen there. So we've seen improvements to selection breadcrumbs. We have a warnings and errors context bar. We have a new option to hide all types directly from the heads-up view toolbar. We've seen dynamic reference visualization interface cleaned up. We can now disable selection accelerators within the fillet tool. We can sort our configurations. We've seen improvements to comments, and we can control decals and scenes with display states.